Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a My 2 Cent video for this week, for the week of January 4th to the 10th, 2026, where I take a look at a couple of stories that caught my attention and give you my thoughts and my opinion about them. And we have really 3 stories to cover this week that caught my attention, including a report about the possibility of a remake slash remaster of Fallout 3 and New Vegas. The report about that Witcher 3 could actually get another expansion and all. And finally, an interesting interview regarding the collaboration between Nintendo and Koei Tecmo regarding Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment and all. If you're interested where I got the source of these information, links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this either on YouTube or Patreon, and of course the timestamps will be there as well if there are certain parts of this video we wish to skip to and all. But before we get started, I like to do what I like to call the quick my 2 cents, stories that kind of caught my attention, but I'm not going to go into a huge amount of details and all. The first one has to do with a report this week of where Metroid Prime 4 Beyond stands, at least in the UK though, and it seems to basically make it to the top 40 this week and all. And now I am very curious to see how well Metroid Prime 4 Beyond has done and everything like that. There have been reports that it was like the #1 game on the eShop, Nintendo eShop, to basically doing very well on the Amazon charts as well. But I think a lot of it will be to see exactly what the Satana numbers are when those come out supposedly on January 22nd. So it will be very interesting to see how well that game did, because it did certainly, at least online, got mixed response depending on who you're asking this question to and all. We also learned, at least a report that has came out, that the Switch 2 may have struggled over the Christmas period though, with one supposedly unknown source at Nintendo, or at least an employee there, at least according to this article, claimed that they didn't have like a big Western title or something like that there and all. Now, I don't know what this source said could be true or not. I can't say 100% for certain, but I will take it with a grain of salt, but not outright dismiss it. Does this signal mean that the Switch 2 is a failure and all? I wouldn't go that far or anything like that, nor do I view this as this is the end of Nintendo or anything like that. But it is possible that if this report is true though, and we still have to hear what the Satana numbers are and what Nintendo has to say, then it is possible it could have Nintendo maybe reevaluate or re-examine their approach in terms of, trying to sell the Switch 2 and all, when you factor in, where the economy is right now. So there's a lot of factors you could point to, maybe not having a 3D Mario or a 3D Zelda game at launch title, to where the economy is. So there's a lot of ways you could look at this though. I wouldn't consider the Switch 2 as a failure, but like I said, it is possible it could have Nintendo to maybe rethink some of their approach and everything like that. We also learned that Final Fantasy Tactics: The Ivan Chronicles has surpassed 1 million sales worldwide. Again, assuming this was the expectation Square Enix set though, that certainly is good indeed though for this game though, even of a remaster though. It's possible it could open the door for maybe Square Enix to consider maybe doing another of these type of games. So there's always that possibility, but time will ultimately tell if that is the case or not. But it does seem to indicate that supposedly Square Enix is happy with the sales for Final Fantasy Tactics: The Ivan Chronicles, if I'm saying the name correctly though. We also are learning that Wolfenstein 3 is in the works, at least according to several multiple reports though. Personally, I would be pleased if it's true though. I am a fan of the Wolfenstein game. I consider them the granddaddy of first-person shooters, along with Doom itself though. It will be interesting to see where they take the next Wolfenstein game if this report is true though. Obviously, the New Order and the Old Blood took place around near World War II. The New Order and the new Colossus, if I'm saying the name correctly though, took place during the 60s and 70s with Youngblood, which was controversial depending on who you were asking the question about what your view on that one is. Took place during the 80s, so if a Wolfenstein 3 is in the works though, maybe this one takes place in the 90s, so that's a possibility, but we'll have to wait and see exactly on that one though. We also learned, at least a report seemed to be coming out, that a third-person shooter or a shooter-like game could be revealed at BlizzCon that takes place in the StarCraft universe though, which, if this report's true, it will be very interesting to see what this game turns out to be though. I do remember years ago, I think back in like the early 2000s or during the PS2, Xbox, and GameCube era, there was gameplay of the game StarCraft Ghosts, which was basically looked like a stealth game that took place in the StarCraft universe, but that game didn't go really that far, and eventually the plug was pulled on that one though. So whether this does happen or not remains to be seen, but it'll be very interesting to see if it is true and it is revealed at BlizzCon and all. So it certainly would be interesting indeed if it does happen. We also learned that Ubisoft has closed a studio, and 71 jobs of this studio has been affected though. It's one of their studios, I believe, in Canada. What makes this even more interesting is that the closure is happening around the same time this studio, the employees there voted to unionize and all, and apparently the employees or there might take legal actions against Ubisoft. Now, I don't know if it was a coincidence or not, but if this is true and that they did close the studio based on the employees unionizing, then yeah, I can see them. I would definitely agree with them in terms of taking legal action against Ubisoft if that is the case and all. We also learned that Aulx Studio had basically made a comment on Reddit regarding the possibility of Baldur's Gate 3 making its way to the Switch 2, and according to them, they said that they would have loved to bring it to the Switch 2 and all, but certainly they said there were certain things that were beyond their control. There have been some if what they're saying is true and all, then it's possible there could have been some situations such as, rights issues, or for what I understand, the studio that created Baldur's Gate 3 had issues with the rights holders and everything like that. So it's possible Baldur's Gate 3 may not make its way to the Switch 2, but who knows if that is the case or not. But they would certainly consider Divinity though, which we do know that they are currently working on at this time though. And recently, Divinity Original Sin 2 did get a Switch 2 upgrade though, for free for those who have the game though. So it does sound like they do like the Switch 2 though. It does sound like they would consider bringing the new Divinity game over, but it doesn't sound like, at least at this time, Baldur's Gate 3 will make its way over to Switch 2. Now that could change, but for now it sounds like, based on what they're saying, it's unlikely at the very least though. And last but not least, we learned that Nintendo has responded to basically using any AI images in the My Mario marketing. Now, this had to do with the fact that they were advertising these products, for it looked like it was aimed for families and kids though, in terms of using Nintendo Mario characters and all. And one particular picture had supposedly the way a mother was holding like a toy for her child, the way the thumb was being used, and some had basically come out accusing Nintendo of using AI images for that though. Well, they have come out, and even the person who was in the photo, the actress that was in the photo though, even she has come out denying that, to be exact though. AI, I will say, is a very gray area, to be exact though. I understand the benefits of it though, but I also can understand there are some serious concerns about it. So, I can understand why some people might accuse this of Nintendo using AI because of the way the thumb is positioned and everything like that. But, again, it's a gray area when it comes to AI in general and all. And in the movie and TV show part of the Quick My 2 Cent, we apparently have an article from the Direct that seemed to indicate what direction the Mando version or the future of it may go. And some of that may have to do with how well, Mando and Guru movie does though. will admit, and a lot of this comes off the heels that Kathleen Kennedy is stepping down as head of Lucasfilm, and there's basically these two new folks that are going to step in. Whether or not the Mandoverse continues or not remains to be seen at this time, though, so we'll have to wait and see. I mean, again, I will admit the Mando movie is interesting, but the trailer they showed didn't have the same factor the way that the Mandalorian TV show on Disney Plus did, though. But we'll see, though. I mean, I am a fan of the Mandalorian, and I'll see how this one plays out and all. We also saw a new teaser trailer for the Avengers Doomsday movie. This one finally had the X-Men with basically both Patrick Stewart or basically Professor X and Magneto, both, sitting at the ruins of the Xavier Mansion and all, and Scott Summers Cyclops wearing the iconic clothes that Cyclops would have worn and all. It is going to be very interesting. I'm still looking forward to seeing that movie, indeed. And if this is Patrick Stewart's last time to see him acting, his last time playing as Charles Xavier, I hope it goes out with a bang. I really do. I really hope that it really does, though. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Avengers Doomsday is going to play out and how this will all tie into Secret Wars, which basically supposedly will restart the MCU and everything, and that's going to be very interesting to see how that all plays out and all. We also learned that Sebastian Stan, who played Bucky Barnes in the MCU, aka Winter Soldier, is going to be in the Batman Part 2. That one is going to be very interesting to see all these actors and all, and I'm very curious to see how the Batman 2 plays out and everything. I did enjoy the first one, though, and I did enjoy the Penguin as well, so this one will be very interesting to see how this one is. It might be good, it might not. Time will ultimately tell if that is the case, though. We know that the DCU is going on with James Gunn, and obviously this movie is happening before James Gunn, I think, stepped up with the DCU, and supposedly this is like their own Batman cinematic universe, but we'll see how this is. I mean, we saw what happened with Joker, how that movie did great, but the sequel wasn't that great, so hopefully this one avoids the same fate, but time will ultimately tell if that's the case. And finally, last but not least, though, there's more info about Netflix buying Warner Brothers, as we are learning how some movie theaters met with lawmakers in terms of their concerns about Netflix's buying Warner Brothers in general, to basically Democrats weighing in as well, weighing in well from Netflix's buying Warner Brothers, to even Paramount buying Warner Brothers as well. This comes off on the heels of basically WB rejecting another offer from Paramount again over the Netflix deals and all. I'm still in the camp, and though a lot of things could change, I'm still in the camp believing that more than likely Netflix will buy Warner Brothers. And I just wonder how many more times is Paramount going to try to buy, to try to get Warner Brothers over on their side until it reaches a point where it's like, look, we said no before, we said it many times, we basically are saying no, saying we're sticking with Netflix and everything. And I will admit, I am mixed on the idea of Netflix buying Warner Brothers and all. For I think there are several reasons. There is certainly some concerns in terms of monopolizing and stuff, but there's also concerns about some of the comments Netflix CEO said about movie theaters in general. So I do agree there's some concerns about it, but at the same time, I also have issues of Paramount buying Warner Brothers, ranging from ideological ground, aka going pro-MAGA, to basically some of the claims saying that we're going to put all these movies into the theaters and all, to the fact that the latest Avatar movie, or the upcoming Avatar movie, was originally going to go in the theaters, but now going into Paramount Plus, to basic concerns about jobs as well. So I'm still mixed on this to a certain degree, but I still believe more than likely, and again, like I said, I could be wrong, I'm still in the camp believing that Netflix will end up getting Warner Brothers and all. Okay, with the Quick My 2 Cent part now done, along with the movie and TV show part of the Quick My 2 Cent, we'll get started with our first story, and this one has to do with Nintendo and Koei Tecmo, and an interesting interview in regards of how Hyrule Warrior Age of Imprisonment happened and all. Now, Nintendo and Koei Tecmo have worked together before in the past, though. While some of the working together may have gotten maybe somewhat of a mixed response. Metroid Other M is a good example when that was released on the Wii, though, which I don't think was as bad of a game as some on the internet made it sound like it is. But I will say, in my view, it wasn't as good as the Metroid Prime series was. But at the same time, they have found success in terms of doing some of the Hyrule Warriors games, like the original one, to Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, to even the Fire Emblem series with their help with Fire Emblem Three Houses, to doing Fire Emblem Warriors and Fire Emblem Warriors Three Hopes, and also they have collaborated with Nintendo before, just like how Bandai Namco has worked with Nintendo, ranging from the Smash Brothers to the Mario Kart series in general, though. Well, recently they had an interview and they talked about how Age of Imprisonment came to be, and it was kind of interesting, indeed, especially if you enjoyed Age of Imprisonment, which I'm currently playing right now and all. So, in an article from Nintendo Life, it reads that, quote, according to a new interview with 4Gamer, courtesy of Nintendo Everything, the folks over at both Nintendo Koei Tecmo thought the same thing, thinking that a new Hyrule Warrior game was going to happen. So it didn't take long for Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment to get the green light. Nintendo veteran Onoma, if I'm saying the name correctly, seemed especially confident in Koei Tecmo's interest in the project, starting the Tears of the Kingdom director Hibino Fujikana. Again, I apologize, I'm not saying that name correctly. I'm probably butchering it though. That they shouldn't make the first move. Instead, wait for Koei Tecmo to reach out. As expected, it did so almost immediately after Tears of the Kingdom release. As for the producer, Yoshia Hasana, it only took a week of playing Tears of the Kingdom to realize that a game set during the Imprisonment War would be worthwhile. He stated that Tears of the Kingdom was sending us a message to create a new title, so he pitched the idea to Ryota, who coincidentally had already begun to put the plan together. They have a snippet of the interview and everything like that. They talked about how one of them said that we are eager awaiting the release of Tears of the Kingdom. I personally played the weekend immediately following its release. I felt like the game was sending us a message, something like make a Warriors game set in the time of Imprisonment War. After the weekend, he spoke to Maasana saying, let's make it, and we drew up a plan. In truth, I have actually been putting a plan together before he spoke to me, laughing like the seed of a Warriors game was scattered all over the place. On the Nintendo side, during Tears of the Kingdom development, Fujikara established in details exactly what the Imprisonment Wars were, and after it was finished, he said, maybe we could ask Koei Tecmo this time, but I responded with, and this is what Onoma was saying, no, let's wait here from Koei Tecmo first, and it was almost immediately after that they contacted us. So, kind of interesting indeed that basically they wanted to hear from Koei Tecmo before they decided to contact them, though. So, that was certainly interesting indeed. But nevertheless, though, the idea of another Hyrule Warriors game never really crossed my mind when it was happening or anything like that. But still, they decided to go ahead and do it, and I'm glad that they actually did it as well. I've been playing the game, and I've been enjoying it so far, though, and it runs very well on the Switch 2 at 60 frames per second, which is certainly nice indeed. I will say I am a little surprised that they've yet to do an update maybe for Age of Calamity. I'm wondering if they will do like a Switch 2 version, just like how Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom have basically gotten a Switch 2 version indeed. But it's certainly interesting indeed, and it'll be interesting to see how the future of Koei Tecmo and Nintendo is in terms of if they're doing any more collaborations. I mean, honestly, I enjoy these Nintendo-themed Warriors games. I feel like there's more stuff into it than what you would get at a traditional like Dynasty Warriors or Samurai Warriors game. At least that's from my perspective, though. I really would like to see them do one on other Nintendo IPs like I really think one based off of the Xenoblade Chronicles series would be a really neat idea if they ever did that, though. Don't know if they will do that, but who knows? I mean, maybe they will, maybe they won't. But in either case, though, it is sort of interesting to see how Age of Imprisonment happened and everything. So overall, very interesting interview indeed, though. Would like to see more collaboration between Koei Tecmo and Nintendo. And who knows, maybe we'll get a Xenoblade Chronicles Warriors game out there, or maybe we'll get the Team Ninja, the folks who did, the Wulong Fallen Dynasty, or the Neo games, maybe, or Rise of the Ronin. Maybe we can bring them over and make a game using any of the Nintendo characters as well. So it will be very interesting if that ever comes to tuition and all. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 2. And this one has to do with a report coming out that indicates that we could see a new expansion for The Witcher 3, believe it or not. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of my 2 cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at a interesting report / rumor that indicate that we could see another expansion for the Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Now, Witcher 3 Wild Hunt came out during the PS4 and Xbox 360 era, though, and we've seen the game get ported over to, with numerous systems, including a Switch 1 version released back in 2019 and all. And the series has certainly gained popularity and all, even spawning a Netflix series and all. And since then, CD Projekt Red has mostly focused on that game, but also Cyberpunk 2077, which, again, that one got off to a rough start, but eventually it certainly got a much better response than it did when it originally launched back in 2020. Plus, we also got a Switch 2 version that was ported, that was there as well. So certainly interesting indeed. But during the time when Witcher 3 Wild Hunt came out, CD Projekt Red focused heavily on, ranging from updating the game to offering some expansions and all to the series and everything like that. And it is a game that a lot of people really do enjoy and everything. So I was kind of surprised about this report, considering the fact that we know the CD Projekt Red's working on Witcher 4 and everything, and a sequel to Cyberpunk 2077. But it was kind of interesting to hear that they may be doing another expansion for it, even though supposedly we've already gotten the so-called complete edition and everything. But anyway, in an article from Video Game Chronicles, it says that Polish Noble security analyst said last month that he was expecting the next paid add-on DLC for The Witcher 3 to be released in May 2026, according to a Polish website. The report follows similar game from a Polish game insider, and I believe also IGN Poland reported on this as well, who said last year that new content was secretly in development at Fool's Theory, the same studio currently remaking The Witcher 1 for CD Projekt Red. Eurogamer has since followed up with this Polish Games Insider comment, who told that it has information was verified by several independent sources. He also pointed out to a comment in a CD Projekt Red recent financial report in which the CFO said that there is a chance that a new content hinted upon its recent call and reports may see release in the coming years having an impact on our results. A spokesperson for CD Projekt Red told the publication it does not comment on rumors or speculation. CD Projekt Red is currently working on multiple Witcher projects, including The Witcher 4, a remake of The Witcher 1, and multiplayer game set within the Witcher universe. Last summer, the company debuted a Witcher 4 tech demo, which it said was representative of what Witcher 4 will look like on a base PS5 console, but didn't show the game itself, which I would say that's a very slippery slope indeed, though, because we've seen how some developers have done that before, and the game doesn't always turn out to be how we expected it to be. I mean, Watch Dogs is one good example on that, though. Now, that would be very interesting indeed, anyway, if this turned out to be true and all. And there's been reports that it takes place sort of like in a desert or something like that. At least that's the claim, though. And supposedly, it is supposedly sort of bridging the gap between Witcher 3 and Witcher 4. But that still would be interesting indeed. And I would be down with another expansion if this is true or not. It would be very curious to see how, if it's true, how this would tie into Witcher 4 indeed and all. As for whether or not this will make its way over to Nintendo platform, that remains to be seen, at least at this time, though. That being said, though, I wouldn't rule out the possibility, though. It would be interesting to see if that is the case, if this game if this expansion does come to like those who own the Switch 1 version of Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, then don't be surprised if we see something like, oh, we're now going to have a Switch 2 version of Witcher 3 Wild Hunt and all. Whether they do it through a paid upgrade or have like it available for free to download, that remains to be seen. So I wouldn't exactly rule out the possibility this could also make its way to the Switch 2 and all. Whether or not it's Saber Interactive handling it, since they handled the port of the Switch 1 version of Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, that remains to be seen indeed. But in either case, though, it would be interesting to see if this does come to fruition, though. Obviously, the Projekt Red isn't saying anything at this time, so time will ultimately tell if this so-called report does turn out to be true or not. So overall, I wouldn't be against the idea of an expansion for Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, if that is the case, though. I'm curious to see if the report of it claiming that it will sort of bridge the gap between Witcher 3 and Witcher 4 turns out to be true or not. And while it remains to be seen if this will actually happen or not, I wouldn't rule out the possibility of this expansion also coming to the Switch 2, which, if that does happen, should that happen, then don't be surprised if you hear that we're also doing a Switch 2 version of Witcher 3 Wild Hunt and all. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to our third and final part of our My Two Cent video, and this one has to do with a supposedly report that Bethesda could be remaking or remastering two Fallout games, possibly. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of my Two Cent video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at a report coming out, the possibility that Fallout 3 and New Vegas could receive the remaster and remake treatment and all. Now, Fallout seems to has been doing pretty well lately, though, and a lot of that has to do with the Amazon Prime, Fallout series, which I'm currently watching season 2 right now on Amazon Prime and all. So the series has certainly has been doing very well. It has hit some rough spot, like when the Fallout 76 launched, not in the best possible state out there. And then, of course, there was a whole canvas bag controversial situation, though. But the series certainly has certainly has done very well indeed, with many considering Fallout New Vegas probably one of the best entries in the Fallout series. Now, the idea of a remaster or remake at the time never really crossed my mind or anything like that. But with reports about Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered doing supposedly very well, despite some issues here and there, it seems to indicate that it does sound like that Bethesda itself or Microsoft is certainly open or looking into doing possibly a remaster or remake of both Fallout 3 and New Vegas in general, though. In an article from Nintendo Life, it reads that, quote, Fallout 4 Anniversary Edition, it's on its way to the Switch 2 this year. I'm very curious to see how that one is going to look and run on the Switch 2. And while it's yet to be seen if this will be the case or anything like that, I wouldn't be shocked if it's on a game key card. Again, I'm aware not everybody is a fan of that, though, but don't be surprised if it turns out to be that they're going to use the game key card approach. But anyway, excuse me. Anyway, continue on. And it's on its way to Switch 2 this year, and it may not be the only Fallout game returning in the future. This information comes from the same Windows Central report about what to expect from Xbox this year and beyond. According to the site executive editor Jez Corden, Fallout fans can eventually expect to see Fallout 3 remake in the vein of Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remaster, with Fallout New Vegas also apparently receiving the same treatment. The separate story on Windows Central provides a little bit more details. It reads, quote, "Nothing else is known about these Fallout remasters beyond the fact that they exist and are planned, though the news that they'll be similar to Oblivion Remaster suggests they may be designed in the same way. This will mean the use of Unreal Engine 5 for an extensive graphic overhaul, with Bethesda's creative engine predecessor, GameBro, still serving as the core of the gameplay system. As our colleagues from Pure Xbox excuse me, notes, this isn't the first time they have heard about the possibilities of these older entries in the series, though, returning. And late last year, company legend Todd Howard said Bethesda was working on a whole bunch of stuff for the series. Of course, as nothing has officially been confirmed yet, there are no details about the platforms where these games will target. However, Microsoft is now releasing more games on other devices than ever before, and this includes for Nintendo's platform. So, obviously we'll have to wait and to hear if there's official confirmation on this and everything. But as I said before, given supposedly Microsoft being happy with how Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remaster did, it wouldn't surprise me to be exact if these games do happen, though. It would be very interesting to see how they look and run, to be exact, though. I know that Microsoft was happy with the sales of Elder Scrolls Oblivion, though. I have heard how some folks, there were some issues here and there, and supposedly they were going to, fix some of those issues and all. So it'll be interesting to see if that turns out to be the case. New Vegas, on the other hand, I think that one might be a little bit of a slippery slope, because I feel like a lot of folks would rather have the original developers who did Fallout New Vegas, Obsidian, work on it rather than maybe someone else working on it, though. So that one, I can see why some folks may not be happy if they decide to do remake or remaster that one without Obsidian's input and everything. So that one might be a little bit tricky if that is the case, though. But I wouldn't be opposed if these games get the remaster or the remake treatment indeed. As for whether these games will come to, like the Switch 2 or anything, well, when you take into account Microsoft basically being more open to bringing their games to other systems and everything, to the fact that we know Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is coming to the Switch 2, along with, as I mentioned, Fallout 4 Anniversary Edition will also be coming to the Switch 2 as well. I would say odds are in favor that if a remaster or remake of Fallout 3 and New Vegas do happen, then it more than likely will be coming to the Switch 2. Whether it will be day to date or at a later date, like what we're seeing with Fallout 4 Anniversary Edition, that remains to be seen at this time. So obviously we still have to wait to hear from what Bethesda and what Microsoft is basically saying, though. But I wouldn't be surprised if these remasters of Fallout 3 and New Vegas do happen at all. So overall, I would say right now nothing is official, but I would not be shocked if New Vegas and Fallout 3 get the remaster remake treatment following the success of Oblivion Remaster. And given Microsoft's approach lately to bringing their games to other systems, and recently bringing some games to the Switch 2, I wouldn't be surprised if these games, if they do exist, if they do make their way over to the Switch 2 as well. Okay, this concludes this My 2 Cent video for this week. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about how Koei Tecmo contacted Nintendo in terms of doing Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment? Did you think that the interview that they did with 4Gamer was kind of interesting, though? Would like to see Koei Tecmo work with Nintendo, maybe on on another Nintendo themed Warrior game or another Fire Emblem or something completely new for going forward and all. What are your thoughts about this rumor about another expansion for Witcher 3 Wild Hunt? Do you think this rumor is true? Do you want to see another expansion for Witcher 3 Wild Hunt? And if this expansion does exist, does this in any way indicate the possibility that for those who have Witcher 3 Wild Hunt for Switch 1 that can be played on Switch 2, do you think this opens the door to the possibility that a Switch 2 version of Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is going to happen? And what are your thoughts about the rumor of Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas getting the remaster or remake treatment? Do you think those games deserve a remaster or remake treatment? Do you think they should take the similar approach what we saw with Elder Scrolls Oblivion remaster or something completely different? Do you think, would you rather have Obsidian, if a remaster or remake of New Vegas is happening, would you prefer to have Obsidian work on that, to be exact? And given that Fallout 4 Anniversary Edition is making its way to the Switch 2, do you think if these games do exist, do you would like to see them come to the Switch 2 if that's possible and all? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you do like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You can do it through PayPal Me, Patreon, or Steam Labs. Links will be in the description of this video, so you'll be watching this either on YouTube or Patreon. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye.